Have you ever had that unsettling feeling? You know you're busy, you're productive, talented, you're doing all the right things, but somehow it all feels scattered.
Mm,
You're making one good decision after another, but there's this quiet sense that you're just drifting. It's the struggle of motion without any real direction.
yeah.
That feeling, that conflict between frantic activity and real purposeful momentum, that's exactly what we're getting into today. Our sources have given us this incredible stack of material on it.
And it really gets to the core of leadership, That clarity is the one thing that changes the game.
It's the defining advantage.
It is.
Yeah.
And that clarity is what we're calling vision.
Yeah.
But we have to, I think, strip away the corporate jargon first. This isn't some motivational slogan on a poster.
Right.
In this context, vision is the lens. It's the lens through which every single meaningful decision gets filtered. And when that lens is clear, it doesn't just simplify things. It sharpens your priorities so much that pressure turns into purpose.
Purposeful momentum. I like that. So our mission for this deep dive is to get to the heart of that, to unpack why vision isn't some aspirational goal, but a present moment guide.
A guide rooted in purpose, yeah. And we'll look at the pretty surprising cost of losing that sight and how certain leaders like Nehemiah modeled this disciplined foresight.
Moving from just a burden in his head to a bold, practical plan that got everyone moving.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's dig into that core crisis. The sources start with this reality that so many talented, well-meaning leaders falter, and it's not from a lack of effort.
No, it's from a lack of clear vision. They get stuck in what the sources call maintenance mode.
Maintenance mode, that sounds stagnant.
It's the absolute killer of momentum. Leaders get trapped there because they're too busy responding.
Putting out fires.
Putting out fires, managing expectations, navigating politics. The endless meeting cycle, the inbox that never ends, all that noise, it just causes the ability to see beyond the present moment to quietly fade away.
And when that vision gets blurry, every action becomes reactive, right? You're just managing crises instead of leading toward a destination.
Precisely. And that's where the real organizational cost shows up. Fragmentation. And we're not talking about people being insincere. We're talking about smart, dedicated people achieving things, but the results just feel hollow.
So what does that look like? What's a classic sign of it?
The classic sign is when wise choices start competing with each other.
Ah, okay. Give us an example.
Okay, so think of a tech company. Their core value is innovation, right? But their vision statement is all about maximizing short-term shareholder return.
I see the conflict already.
Right, so the marketing team makes a wise choice to invest in a speculative long-term project. That's innovation. But the finance department makes an equally wise choice to cut that very same project to meet quarterly targets.
Shareholder return.
Exactly. Both choices are good on their own, but without a clear, unifying vision that says which one takes priority, those two teams just end up destroying each other's work.
That's the perfect definition of organizational friction. Just teams burning energy, chasing growth that isn't really aligned with who they are at their core.
And in today's world, with all the change and the noise, you have to be able to tell the urgent from the essential. That's survival.
Yeah, the sources really underline that. Leaders without vision just react to circumstances.
But leaders with vision, they actively interpret them. They see beyond the present crisis without abandoning the present work. That ability to interpret, to see the meaning behind the motion, that's everything.
So this brings us to a really interesting pivot in the material. It moves from that modern management idea straight to something much older.
It really does. It forces us to challenge our whole modern definition of vision, the one we treat like a slogan we dream up in a boardroom.
Through imagination or pure ambition.
Yeah. And these older texts, they teach us something our secular slogans miss completely. They teach us that true vision has to be rooted in something transcendent, something bigger than the leader's ego.
Okay, so what's the concept?
The material points to the Hebrew word for vision in Proverbs 29.18. The word is huzon. And it doesn't mean human foresight. It means revelation, divine disclosure.
Wow. Okay, that is a fundamental shift.
It is.
So if vision is hezon something received, it completely changes the starting point. Strategy asks, what can we accomplish?
With the resources we have.
But this revelatory vision asks, what is God already doing and how are we meant to participate?
That distinction is the anchor. It's what prevents that drift we talked about. When vision gets severed from that idea of revelation, when it just becomes something we generate ourselves.
You become self-referential.
Totally. Leadership starts building according to personal preference or market trends or just institutional survival instead of a higher blueprint.
Hold on, let me push back on that for a second. If vision is received revelation, doesn't that sort of absolve the leader the responsibility to plan? Couldn't it be an excuse for just bad strategy?
That's a critical question. And the answer is no, not at all. Truth-azon isn't an excuse for bad planning. It's the reason for excellent focused planning. The vision comes first, and then it dictates the obedience. It makes the planning specific.
Okay.
I mean, look at the historical examples. Abraham was shown a destination before he was asked to leave. Moses was given a detailed picture of the tabernacle before he started cutting the wood.
And Nehemiah.
Nehemiah is a perfect example. He surveys the broken walls of Jerusalem, and he doesn't just see ruins. He sees restoration.
A divinely inspired picture of what should be.
Right. And he saw that before a single stone was moved. That vision didn't remove the burden of the hard work. It galvanized it. It gave him the clarity he needed to go to the king and make a bold request for resources.
Okay, so if that clarity is the positive result, what's the consequence of losing it? This is where that famous warning in Proverbs comes in. Where there is no vision, the people perish.
And we hear that and we think of, some sudden chaotic explosion.
Right, a catastrophe.
But the deeper truth is way more unsettling because the failure is slow. It's quiet. The Hebrew verb there for perish is para.
Para.
Yeah. And it literally means to be unrestrained or let loose. It's a slow unraveling. It's moral and communal disintegration.
That is terrifying because it's not the sudden bankruptcy, is it? It's the slow realization 10 years down the line that the thing you built is still standing, but everyone's forgotten why.
Or worse, they've abandoned the principles it was founded on. That's para. Without that revelatory guidance, people lose coherence. They don't stop being busy. They just stop knowing why they're busy.
And effort devolves into misdirected devotion.
Exactly. The mission fractures. First structurally, then ethically. Visionless leadership doesn't fail with a bang, it just disintegrates quietly.
So that clarifies the stakes, but here's the paradox. We think of vision as this futuristic, far-off thing, but the sources are saying it's just as much about right now.
It's entirely about right now. Biblical vision isn't escapism from today's problems. It's what gives today's problems their profound meaning. It anchors all the mundane daily choices to a larger calling. It clarifies why today matters.
And that starts with honest observation, which feels counterintuitive. We think of visionaries as these blind optimists.
But the sources are clear. Denial is not faith. True vision begins with seeing things truthfully. Go back to Nehemiah. He didn't rush to solutions or spiritualize away the problem.
No, the first thing he did was walk the walls at night.
He walked the walls, he surveyed the damage, and then he sat down and he wept. The vision actually deepened his grief. It didn't numb him to it. It let him see the full scope of the brokenness.
So he wasn't avoiding reality. He was diving headfirst into it to get clarity.
Exactly. Vision roots leaders inside reality. It refuses illusions and quick fixes. You have to have clarity about what you're actually facing. Think of Jesus looking at the crowds and feeling compassion because they were harassed and helpless. He named the specific problem. Then he called his disciples into the work.
So it's insight into the present, calibrated by a known future.
Perfectly said.
And that destination, that why, brings us to the relationship between vision and strategy, because you need both.
You absolutely need both. This relationship is fundamental. Vision sets the destination. That's the why. Strategy is the roadmap. That's the how. You can't neglect either one.
And if you do, the imbalance is, well, it's pretty clear. Vision without strategy just leads to frustration.
Total frustration. You get all the inspiration, the amazing speeches, the grand plans, but zero execution. Great ideas just die in committee because nobody knows what the next concrete step is.
Meanwhile, strategy without vision, that leads to exhaustion.
Profound exhaustion, yeah. You're highly efficient. You're hitting all your metrics. You're cutting costs, but you accomplish nothing of lasting significance. It's the team producing flawless reports that are ultimately meaningless because no one asked the right questions in the first place.
You're efficient, but you're not effective.
Not at all.
So, okay. We've received the vision, the Dizon. We've aligned it with the present reality, the honest assessment. Now what? You have to execute. You have to translate that private burden into a bold
A
request.
practical plan, yeah.
Okay.
This is where frameworks become really important to make sure it's clear and has integrity. The vision has to be communicable and actionable, otherwise it just stays locked in the founder's head.
And the sources give us one. The VIV framework, vision, impact, and values. So let's break that down. Vision is the direction. Where are we going? That's usually the easy part.
The hard part is impact. Impact measures transformation, what observable, sustainable fruit will result. And you have to differentiate that from just activity.
Right. Activities holding meetings. Impact is what came out of the meetings.
Exactly. Activities, we sent 100 emails. Impact is what was the specific, measurable change in behavior that resulted from those emails. If you can't measure the transformation, you're just measuring your own effort.
Which leads to exhaustion. And the last piece is values.
Yeah, values. This shapes the moral architecture. How will we pursue the vision? This is the organization's ethical immune system. Vision without values is totally susceptible to that slow corruption that we talked about.
Values define what you won't do, even if it might work in the short term.
That's it, exactly. They protect the mission from the mission itself, in a way.
And this all comes back to being communal. Nehemiah didn't just carry this burden himself. He articulated it so clearly that people could own it. He gave specific families specific sections of the wall to rebuild.
That detail is so crucial for long-term stewardship. It creates alignment, shared ownership. Every family could look at their section and know, if my part fails, the whole city is vulnerable. That level of ownership, that's what drives a movement.
And that shared stewardship is what ensures the mission outlives the visionary?
Right. Leadership in this model is stewardship, not ownership. It means you are actively preparing successors, cultivating community, and embedding the values right into the structures of the organization.
The hiring filters, promotion criteria.
All of it. You're institutionalizing the vision. That's how the work becomes a self-sustaining movement and not just a monument to the founder. A monument is static. A movement is alive.
And that's really the power of it. A clear vision rooted in purpose. It stabilizes your actions, it filters all the noise, and it transforms just being busy into building something that lasts.
Absolutely. Vision doesn't demand constant, frantic innovation. It demands consistent alignment. It's the daily discipline of seeing rightly and then acting on what you see.
So here's something for you to carry forward, building on this idea of avoiding that slow unraveling of para. If leadership without vision creates that moral drift, what deeply assumed but unstated vision is actually guiding your most critical decisions right now? Maybe it's a vision based on personal comfort or institutional pride or just market acceptance. And what essential project, what foundational commitment might you have to eliminate today if you held your current path up to the standard of a true, non-negotiable purpose?